We're very excited to launch the drawing viewer as part of the As Constructed portal. We think it's quite a significant enhancement, so there's a few unspoken benefits that we'll have within the portal. We think it will enhance the workflow quite a bit. So let's go and have a look at the drawing viewer that is embedded within the portal. So basically where the portal sits is in this whole infrastructure lifecycle management between the design, build and manage phase, between the developers, consulting engineers, engineering surveyors into the asset owners to handle the GIS and asset management. That's got to manage all of that information, where all of that is sitting. So basically the process flow is you've got typically the CAD environment, CAD drawings, etc. Now, one of the things that we've done is we've built an attributor to take the standard and embed them within your CAD environment. So you get sort of GIS-like functionality with all the drop-downs, etc. that you may want in there within the portal. You can then submit those drawings to the portal. And you can submit drawings, shape files or MIF files. So there's a few more formats incoming that you'll be able to do that. And then you've got to go and correct if there's any errors. So it will validate it, find where you've got errors, and then go through that process. Now, the typical process flow then is to say, if there's an error, you've got to download the drawing or the shape or the bitmap file with the error files that we've generated, open it, go and have a look at those errors, go and fix it, etc. Then we go into the GIS data phase. You've then got to go and say if you're happy with that information. So that's the other area where then you've got to download the drawing. So the engineers at the asset owner, council, utility, etc. has got to download those, have a look at it. What some people would do is they would actually download, convert it, and the engineers will look at the converted file into the GIS environment, and that's then converted. So we've introduced then the Autodesk Viewer, so it will help with the correcting phase, both for the surveyor, contractor, etc., as well as the asset owner, and then also that validation phase where you can have a look at the drawing, how all of that would hang together. So that's where we see it fitting into the workflow of the portal process. So what we've done is the Autodesk Drawing Viewer. It's a custom implementation. It's not the standard Autodesk Drawing Viewer. So the normal Autodesk Drawing Viewer will look something like that. You can click on it, get the properties, but you've got some general miscellaneous, etc. And if you click on something, it will expand and you can get to the attributes. And very often you have to scroll to get to the attributes, etc. So if you've got a drawing that's passed validation, this is the drawing view that you can see, and I'll go live into it at the moment. It's live on the portal, so you can actually go onto the portal, go and look at some of your existing drawings and have a look at them. So one of the things that we do is if you submit, doesn't matter if you submit a shape file or a bitmap file or a drawing file, if it's a GIS format, we convert it to DWG and do the validation within the DWG, and you can then get that errors and warning list. So this is custom functionality. So the icon at the bottom right that you see there is one that we've added, is then custom. And if you then select something on there, it will go and select that information. So there's your errors and warning list, etc. So one of the fundamental things that we've added with ACDC 5 is the ability to have warnings rather than errors. So if there's a specific thing where, for example, there is a case where invert elevation may be higher downstream than upstream, you can do that as a warning instead of an error. But if you then have a drawing that has passed validation and you go and open it, it will tell you that it's passed with warnings. When you then go and open that drawing, you can actually go and if there's a warning in, it will pop up the warning list and tell you about it so that you know that, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to. Are we going to accept this or not? So that is quite a worthwhile addition that we feel. So let's actually go and look at the drawing viewer on the portal itself. So let me go log into the portal. Okay, so it will take me to the validations page. So what I'm going to do is turn on my filters, and I'm going to actually filter. Let's go and look at, I'll go and do a fail with warnings. Okay. If you now go to your action drop down, what you will see there, so if a drawing has failed validation, you've got the view failed drawing. And what that will do is it'll open the drawing. Now, what this will do is we actually upload this to the Autodesk site. They convert it into their own format and will then go and store that within their environment, and we delete the drawing out of their environment. And you can then go and look at the drawing information. So how all of this works, you'll see it will pop up this error and warning page. You can turn that on and off. By default, you'll be in pan mode, so you can go and pan that. Or you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Or you can then also go to the zoom mode, and if you move your mouse up and down, it will zoom into the drawing, and then use your middle mouse button to get to any of the errors. You've got a measure mode, so I can go and do all this. All the AutoCAD snaps will actually work in there, so it will give you distances that you can do. You can measure angles, you can measure area. So if I want to measure a specific area from there to there, so it will give you all of those type of snaps, etc. You can get to the layer manager. So if you want to go and turn off errors, or one of the things with ACDC 5 that we've introduced is you can do arrows. So one of the things that you can turn on, it will then show you what is the pipe direction for drainage and sewer. That's quite handy, so you can actually see what's going on, but you can easily then go and turn those errors off as well. So let me turn off the layers pane as well. If we go to our settings, in the settings, then what is our display unit? So if it's file units, if it's meters or feet or whatever, it will display that information for you. In the navigation, if it gives you the opposite for the zoom and pan of what you're expecting, you can toggle the direction there. What is your scroll and zoom speed? And do you want a white background or do you want a black background? For that, you can toggle those kind of things. And do you want to animate the lines with the drawing, so you can show all of that. Okay, so let's go and look at some of the errors. So here, if I select the error, it will zoom me to that particular error. So we'll actually change this a little bit. That will be zoomed out a little bit further. I will do an update release as well. It will also collapse all the other tabs and only expand the attribute tab for you. So you can then see, so there's a tooltip with the error, but you can then also see the error. So the number of irons is not greater than 0 for this one. So if I look at that, now I can go and click on the error. So one of the markings was number of iron steps. So they're saying, well, there must be iron steps in there. And if they say 0, then it would flag. So that's the rule that was set there. In this one, so I can also select on the error circle as well. So I can select in here and it will zoom to that entity, or I can go and select on the error circle and tell you what is going on. So that is, this one has got a warning as well as an error. So that's one of the more complicated rules that we've done. And your pipe's diameter width is not less or equal. So that's a specific rule that was added. So it will then tell you about it. So if I do the comparison, etc. In this one, your upstream invert elevation is not greater than the downstream invert elevation. So if I look at this one, yes, our upstream elevation is 258.24 and 258.36. So if we then go back to our layer management and look at our direction arrow, well, is that correct? Yes, so there's an invert elevation error on that particular entity. So the whole idea is it will make it a lot easier to actually go and find the errors that you have got within the system. And you can then just go and fix those errors and go and do that. Now, this is not an editable environment. It's a view-only environment where you can go and do that. So there is Autodesk browser environment where you can actually go and edit those attributes, those block attributes. But this is a view-only environment that you have for the portal. If I look at pass with warning, so let me go and have a look at that. So this one has passed the drawing validation. Let me go and view that drawing. So sometime it can take a few seconds to convert. We will go and add a close button in there. We've had cases where it's taken up to 20 seconds. It's not frozen, it's actually doing the conversion. It will give control back to you to have a look at what is going on there. So in this particular case, this one has got warnings as well. So your downstream invert elevation for the adjacent object is not greater. So that will basically look at this pipe's invert elevation versus that pipe's invert elevation, and is it greater, etc. So it will give you those warnings that you can then go and fix with that. It's quite easy to look at any of the attributes. So there's all the attributes that you can then, is it the gravity, what's all the various bits and pieces that you have then within this, and so you can then just go and have a look at the various attributes that you have got within the system, and it will tell you what's all the attributes, etc. So we feel it's a nice, easier way to actually look at the data, how all of that works. So then let's look at one or two questions. So how much does this cost? So there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is, yes, it costs money. The good news is we're not charging you for that money. So the way that Autodesk charges this is there's a cost for the conversion, and we will bear the cost in terms of your portal subscription. Viewing it is for free. So if somebody has converted it once, we can access that one many times, and there's no cost involved within that environment. Right, so questions. If you can type the questions in the question box, or you can unmute yourself and ask any questions. Okay, Emily, in terms of the drawing conversion is something that is set up for the organization. And on a project, when you create a project, you can set whether you want to turn the conversion on or not, and what format do you want to convert to. So if you convert to shape or to bitmap, then the portal will do the conversion. So it's not something that you've got to go and do to say, I now want to go and convert the drawing. It's if you set up the project to do conversion, the portal will do the conversion and upload and zip it all up and store that you can convert the drawing. I hope that helps. Now everybody can convert. So let me I'll show you. So I go in with developer rights. You will have exactly the same information there. You might have that one. So if I go and look there, I can view that drawing. So this is the new conversion that is happening. Take a few seconds. It's still doing the conversion is still much quicker than downloading it and opening it in AutoCAD. There we go. So there's the drawing. So they can also do the conversion, and there's no separate payment between. It's once for that drawing has been converted, it's there to be able to view going into the future. So it is for the developers as well as the asset owners. Any more questions? Scott, yes, we've had some feedback, and so far it's been quite positive. I would like to hear feedback from yourself, from the developer community as well. How are you finding it, and how much of a benefit it will be for you as well? Okay, great. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending.